I mean, check this out. You're 19, you've wholesaled 8 houses, you bought your first rental property at 19. That's so amazing.
This video is brought to you by Flipster, the nation's #1 real estate software, with tools for finding, funding, and flipping houses. Check it out now at getflipster.com.
Hamza, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us about your deals and your success. Right before we started recording, you mentioned that you live in New Jersey. You're from Canada, live in New Jersey now, and you're doing the business remotely in Dallas, Texas. Is that right?
Yep.
So that's remote, guys. And what's really exciting about remote is obviously it facilitates lifestyle, which is the reason why I do it remotely and love that concept or that strategy of living wherever you want to live and then doing the business in a market that you choose and being able to leverage, never seeing the properties in person a lot of times to really scale and grow a business. So it's pretty exciting that we can do that. So Hamza, tell us a little bit about how you got your start in real estate.
Back in April is when I started. I was just sitting on my phone, going through YouTube. And like I said, I came across an ad on wholesaling and it kind of caught my attention. So I kept watching the ad fully. And I clicked on it and I kind of got the basis of what wholesaling was. I was always into making money online. I had an e-commerce store before that. I mean, I'm only 19. So I think it was back when I was 18 is when I had my e-commerce store. So I was always into making money online. I just went on YouTube again and just started watching videos. I came across your videos and, I wanted to thank you as well for, the amount of stuff you put on your channel and being transparent with everyone, because not a lot of people are that transparent as you are. A lot of your stuff that I use was also free. So I took it to my advantage. I kept watching your videos every day. As a 19-year-old, a lot of kids go outside and party and, go with their friends. Me, I just stayed at home every day after school and just on my free time. Don't watch TV, don't play no video games. Really, every day I just kept learning and learning and learning, just watching all your videos. And I think that kind of really helped me out to get started.
What's caused that? I'm just curious because I think it's amazing that at 19 years old, you've got your head screwed on better than most people at your age. I certainly did. I didn't start real estate till 27. I think for many years I was searching and I was striving. I just didn't really know the right path. What is it for you? Why do you have that drive? Why are you not out partying with your buddies?
Honestly, it's a couple of reasons, but the main reason is honestly because of my parents and for my parents. My parents are immigrants. They moved from Pakistan to Toronto a long time ago. So my dad kind of restarted his whole life. We're doing pretty good in Toronto. And then my dad got the opportunity to come to the States. And he made that tough decision again to come all the way here, leave everything behind.
Yeah.
I have two younger brothers, so he kind of wanted a better life for us and more opportunities. So as I grew older, when I look at my dad, my dad's working 2 jobs and my mom's working as well now. And my dad works, I think, 9 to 5. He works every day. He goes from one job to another. He goes to work at 6 a.m., comes back home at like 12 midnight. And this is every day. So when I see my dad working hard and seeing him, getting old, stuff like that, I kind of want to, make him proud and, show him that it's worth it, him moving all the way here, because that's all my dad wanted. And as coming from an immigrant household, they kind of really, focus on getting an education, stuff like that. So at the same time, I'm also in college, balancing that as well. So it's kind of like a side hustle for now. But it was really because I'm trying to, get my parents good, retire them, get them a house, make sure they don't got to worry about anything. I can just take care of them and go from there.
That's awesome. I've met a lot of people that have that immigrant mentality or that immigrant upbringing. Now you're second generation, because how old were you when your parents moved to Canada?
Well, I was born in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was born in Toronto, born and raised. And then I was about, I think, freshman year of high school, end of high school, I moved to America.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
sophomore year was in America.
That immigrant mindset, you grow up and you see your parents and the sacrifices they made and the struggles that they made to try to give you a better life. And you took that to heart and appreciate that. I wish kids growing up in America could adopt at least the mindset of not taking for granted the opportunities that are here, right? Like, it's amazing. In Pakistan and most of the rest of the world, you don't have the same opportunities we have. So I commend you for, even though you grew up not knowing what that was like, you grew up here. What you did do is you took to heart that appreciation. You didn't take it for granted. You're not entitled, and that is amazing. And I just really, really admire that in you, because you could have easily said, you know what, I don't know what that's all about. I grew up in Canada or America or whatever. But instead, you look at the sacrifice your parents made and have that appreciation. And that's also caused a lot of drive in you to take advantage of that opportunity, which is, again, just amazing. So thank you for that example. I hope people watching this, I hope young people watching this see you and are inspired by that, because people need you as a role model. Even though you're 19, you're still a role model for a lot of people that are younger as to what they can do with their life that they maybe aren't thinking about. Okay, so you learn about wholesaling, this kind of this idea, then you go to YouTube, you find my channel, you're learning, you're progressing. At what point did you take it from the education phase to taking action and, like, picking up the phone and making offers?
Yeah, so I know a lot of people talk about taking action, and I know you talk about that too. And honestly, I think that's very important, just to take action, because I feel like a lot of people just think about just studying stuff like that, studying the game, stuff like that, and just never really take the action. So it's kind of, for my process from going from wholesaling to where I'm at right now, I was really an action taker, and I just said, you know what, just pick up the phone and just try it out. So it was April 1st. I remember this clearly. April 1st is when I heard about wholesaling on the ad,
Yeah.
and then started watching your videos. And this was like multiple videos in a day. I just kept watching and watching and watching. Just like my free time. This was fun for me. I picked up the phone maybe in 2 weeks.
Two
After that,
weeks. Yeah.
yeah, and I think I found my buyer and closed the deal end of April. It's like 31st,
Okay.
around there. So it took me like a month.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Everybody does a different journey. Some people, it's like, a year of education before ready to pick up the phone. Some people, it's like you, it's instantly. Whatever it is, though, what's cool and what everyone needs to understand is nothing happens until you pick up the phone and you put an offer in front of somebody, right? So if you guys can shorten that period, just like Hamza did, the shorter you can make that period to taking action, because Hamza, I'm sure you can relate to this, you're going to learn so much more when you're actually on the phone and
Yeah.
fumbling through it, making the mistakes. You're going to learn faster than any other
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I like the amount of times I got no's, and like my first call that I picked up, I wasn't really confident. So when I was speaking to it was actually an on market deal as well. So when I
Yeah.
was speaking to the agent, I kind of didn't know what I was talking about, and I could tell the agent kind of figured.
Yeah.
Um, and I kept pushing. I kept pushing.
Yeah.
I kept saying, you know what? I think I'm close. I think I could get one done. And I just kept picking up the phone, talking to multiple agents throughout every state, so that I kind of got experience from that,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's why I kind of getting more confident, and just knowing what to talk about in terms of like numbers and stuff like that, and the whole lingo that comes with real estate, and that kind of helped me out. So definitely the experience of picking up the phone for sure.
And when you're talking to those agents initially, you're not knowing the answers, or you don't know what to say exactly. How did you manage the anxiety of that stress, right? Of like, oh,
Yeah,
I don't know what to say. I feel kind of dumb. I feel embarrassed. I feel rejection. How'd you
yeah.
manage through those emotions? Did you even have them, or was it just like, whatever, keep going?
Yeah, no, I did for a bit. The starting, I had a
Okay.
couple of no's. The first was a no, so I kind of felt a little discouraged. I almost gave up, but I said, if I keep pushing, I mean, it can work. So
Yeah.
honestly, I just kept reminding myself, just it's possible. I watch your videos, I watch other people being successful at it, and I said, if they can do it, why can't I? So
Yeah.
I just said, if I just keep pushing, put the no's to the side, and I can maybe get a yes. And if I get that one yes, that could change my life. You know what I mean? Because it's a skill. At the end of the day, I feel like it's a good skill to learn just to wholesale, and it pays off at the end, and it definitely did for me. So.
And how many calls do you think you made? How many no's do you think you got
uh,
before the yes?
I think probably in that, probably like 35, 30, 40.
Okay, which is
Around
amazing.
there.
That's awesome. I tell people plan on 100 before you get the
Yeah,
one, right? It just
yeah,
has a good range to know how many calls and offers you need to make. So 30 to 40 is awesome. I mean, it is timing. It could be the second one, right? And you always
yeah.
need to be thinking, hey, this is the call. This is the one that's going to say yes.
Yep.
So let's talk about that first deal. What was on market? Was that first deal in Dallas?
Yeah, so it was in
Okay.
Dallas. It was in Dallas. I was going through the MLS, just how you taught us on the YouTube videos. I had your YouTube videos on the side, so I just kept, like, if I you refer back, I'd refer back. But
That's awesome.
a deal in Dallas. I think the listing price was 150.
Okay.
And I called up the agent, and then he referred me to a buyer's agent to represent me or whatever. So I was
Okay.
agents involved. I talked to him as if I was the investor. Again, like I said, once they hear the wholesaler thing, they kind of want to back out, whatever. Because I know
Yeah.
some agents, they don't have that mentality. So I didn't want to scare off the agent. And this is what I learned from previously talking to agents as well,
Yeah.
my mistakes and stuff. So obviously you learn from your mistakes. But I talked to the agent. You know, I remember we put in the offer at, I think it was 133 from 150, and the
Yeah.
agency will put it in, see what what happens, because I know it's a low ball offer, but we'll see what happens. So I was kind of nervous. I honestly didn't think it was gonna happen. And that night we put in the offer, and I went to bed. I went to sleep, and then in the morning I got a call right when I woke up, and she said, "Congratulations." I was so happy. I got that first yes. I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Wow, it actually happened." So from there, I was like, "What are my next steps forward?"
Before you get to that, Hamza, let me point out something. So Texas is a non-dual agency state,
Yeah,
which means technically the listing agent can't represent the buyer as well, right? So
yeah, yeah,
because they already represent the seller, they can't do the two. But Texas and Florida and most all other non-dual agency states still do the double dip strategy, just in different ways.
yeah,
So
yeah,
in your case, they did what's called designated agency, where the listing agent referred you to their buyer's agent. Now, you're still working with a different agent on that property, but the thing that you have to understand is that referral to that buyer's agent means that the listing agent is still getting compensated.
yep,
You're
yep,
probably splitting the buyer's agent fee. So here's what happened. The seller paid probably 3% to the listing agent, and then they paid 3% to the buyer's agent. But because the buyer's agent was referred by your listing agent, they probably got a percentage, usually half of that. So
yeah,
my point is it still works because the listing agent, although they're not getting the full six, they're still getting more commission by working with you, by referring you to their in-house buyer's agent, than they would if it was an independent buyer's agent from another agency.
yeah,
And that's called designated agency. So guys, the point I want to make here, and I reiterate this a lot every chance I can with on market, is your job is to just offer the buyer side to the listing agent. Let them figure out how they want to structure it. Maybe they give you a buyer's agent to work with. Maybe they do a transaction coordinator type of thing. Maybe I've seen in Texas and Florida where what they'll do is they'll completely remove the buyer's agent commission and then charge 6% for the seller side. Because the seller's already planning on paying 6, they just restructure how the 6 is given out, right? There's all kinds of ways that the agent will do it. You would just want to create a competitive advantage by giving that agent the option to take all the commission. So, okay, so 150 list, 133, they accepted it. Then what happened?
that day I got dressed, and then I was like, what's my next step? So I went back to your videos, and I just went double checked again, what were the next steps. So then I know I was talking to the agent. She said, put down EMD. We signed the contract and stuff. So the EMD was the next process. So I went straight to the bank right when I woke up. I put down, I think it was $1,000 EMD.
Okay.
So I put the EMD in, and then from there it was. Now then, I was like, now what are the next steps? Now I got the EMD in, everything's good now. And then I went back to your videos a little bit again. Double check to make sure I'm not messing something up. And then I said, now we got to find a buyer. And then again, I used, some of your strategies. I went on Facebook, joined a bunch of groups, and then I just posted it. I
Yeah.
just took pictures and posted it there. I posted it. And then, like I said, I got a lot of people responding back in the comments, but some people were kind of iffy just because it was on market.
Yeah.
That's an issue sometimes. So some of them were kind of like, oh, it's an on-market deal. Oh, it's on the MLS, this and that. I said, hey, listen, it's still a deal.
Yeah.
He said, I'll run the numbers. I'll see you, whatever. But I had this one guy message me, and he said, I actually live in that neighborhood. And I have multiple houses in that neighborhood. So I'd love to take it from you. So I said, perfect. So the next step, I got him on the call right away. I don't want to waste any time, and we negotiated. It's actually funny because I had it at 135, but when we signed the contract and stuff, I was only about to make 2,000, and I thought to myself, I was like, is there any way I can maybe go back and negotiate? I was still in that inspection period.
Yeah.
So what I did was I called up the agent who was representing the seller, and I said, hey, I sent my guys in this and that, my contractors, and they said, hey, it's a little bit more work that we needed, and we kind of over budgeted. So can we do like 133? And then he was kind of iffy about it. Then he said, I'll talk to the sellers. I'll let them know. And then the seller agreed at 133. So then I went down a little bit. So I made 4,000 from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see if I can recap what happened. So your original contract was 135. You took it to your cash buyer who you found on a Facebook group. He wanted that property because he had other properties in that neighborhood. And then what was the number he wanted to pay?
So
136, 37?
137, 137 is
137. So he said, hey, I'll pay 137. You're like, shoot, I'm at
yeah,
135. That's only two, which is still $2,000. But you said, maybe I can go back and renegotiate my original contract down a little bit.
yeah.
So then you asked the agent, hey, I need to come down a little bit. The seller was willing to come down from 135 to 133, which created a $4,000 wholesale spread. Got it. Okay, perfect. So awesome. Good job. In fact, that's, as you followed, I teach that strategy quite a bit. Sometimes you don't know if you have a deal, or let me put it this way. You always go in at the number you think's a deal, but then you won't really know until you take it to market and you see what cash buyers are willing to pay. Then you know, because now you got feedback.
Yeah.
And then when you get that feedback, sometimes that means you need to go back and renegotiate if you don't have enough spread.
Yep.
Which is exactly what you did. Now, we don't want to be in the habit of backing out of contracts or making bad contracts initially. So you always go in with your best number, like go in with a good number that you think is a winner number, but then use your inspection window to verify and validate is what I like to say. So great job. It's awesome. I mean, that's like textbook how to do this. Okay, so then from that moment, when you got your buyer and you committed him, you got your reduction, what was it like going to closing? Were there any hiccups with the agent or the buyer or anything like that?
Yeah, so we kind of had an issue in terms of closing with the title work because someone passed away, and that kind of held up a little bit of closing.
Okay.
It took a little longer than it needed to be. Like I said, watching your videos, I know you mentioned that you're gonna have hiccups,
Yeah.
and it's not always gonna go smooth. So I was stressing a little bit. I was like, oh no, like is it gonna close? Did I mess up or whatever? But then I kept telling myself, it's a process.
Yeah.
It's a little hiccup. You just gotta get over the bump, and then once you go through it, you're gonna get that wire transfer, and you should be fine. So we just kept sticking with it.
Did the agent have any issues when he found out you were assigning your contract?
This is what I did actually, because I know in your videos you mentioned this. I mentioned to type in the contract that it's assignable, and then instead of saying that I'm gonna wholesale it, I told the agent that was representing me. I said I have a partner who's coming in to deal with me. So just in case, I just want to write assignable on the contract. But if I can't go through with it, I can just sign over to my partner, and we don't have any issues at title, and he can just take over. So that's what I said. I think she wasn't. I didn't think she was that stupid. She kind of knew I was wholesaling.
Yeah.
So she kind of put two and two together, but she didn't really say anything in terms of that because she was getting a commission anyways.
Yeah.
So she didn't really have an issue. It was more so the agent for the seller, which I didn't really talk that much. I kind of left it there. So
right, because that's right. You're using a buyer's agent. So yeah. So what you did there is really smart, because I actually never use the word wholesale when talking to the agent or anybody. And I'll use language like you said. I'll say to the agent, I'll say, look, I may buy this property. I may buy it in one of my entities. I may change it to one of my other entities. One of my partners might buy it, or one of my other investors. I don't know really who's going to actually take title and close. So I need an assignable contract so that when we get to closing, we can put it however we decide to at that point. Something along those lines. And when you talk about your partner or your investor, you're referring to your cash buyer. So when you explain it that way, it logically makes sense. It's easy to understand. Everybody does it that way. Like, I legitimately will change from one entity to another entity that I own on a lot of contracts, because I have different entities that do different things. And so agents get that with investors. It's just such an easy way to not make this an issue. Whereas if you say, I'm going to wholesale this property, what that does is it just sends up red flags, and the agent then worries that you're not going to perform and they're not going to get paid and they're wasting their time. And so more than anything, you just want to remove that fear or doubt that they might have.
I actually had, I think I talked to another agent after that, and I mentioned that. She asked me, she said, are you a wholesaler? Because I mentioned that signable thing, and then I said, yes, I don't want to lie.
No, yeah.
And then she said, yeah, I don't want to deal with you, this and that.
Just if you want some language with that, when that happens, the way I'll respond to that is I'll say, look, I have all kinds of different exit strategies with deals. I don't quite know yet with each deal. I have to decide that, but I may buy it and rent it. I may buy it and flip it. I may pass it off to one of my investors. I'll say things like, I work with a group of investors that may want to take this property on, but the point you want to get to is this. You want to say, but I perform on my contracts. You don't have anything to worry about on the day of closing. The seller's going to get exactly what we have in the contract, and you're going to get the commission that you get in the contract, and everything's going to be fine. And if you can reassure them, then that's really where you'll win if over this like wholesaling idea. But you're right, a lot of agents and a lot of people have a negative perception of what a wholesaler is. And so I just stay away from it altogether. I don't even like to refer to what I do as wholesaling. I like to refer to what I do is multiple exit strategies. And one of them might be that I assign my contract to one of my partners or investors. Yeah, so it's just all about how you position that and the language that you use. And if you do a good job explaining that, then it can diffuse it quite a bit. Or sometimes I'll say, when I do assign it later, I'll call up the agent and I'll say, hey, just so you know, I've got a lot going on right now. So one of my partners is actually going to step in and close on this deal. And you don't have to do anything. I already let title know. We're actually going to change who the buyer is on the closing. But again, don't worry about it. It's all taken care of. Nothing you have to do. And that way, when they get to closing, or if they hear about it, they're not hearing about it in a way to where they're worried or stressed or feel like you weren't upfront with them or whatever. It's tricky sometimes to manage through agents because unlike direct to seller, they're there and they're part of the equation a little bit. So it's good to have some ideas on how to navigate through working with that agent to closing. So good job with that. Awesome. So then you closed on that one. You got that $4,000 wire. And what was that like? I mean, try to explain the emotion you had doing that first deal.
Honestly, it was, I was so happy when it came in, all that hard work that I put in and stuff, it all paid off. So I was happy. And then I told myself, I said, hey, if I can do this, I can do it again. And so I got to repeat the process. And then, it can become a business. It can become a process. And then, that's what I was just happy. It's crazy.
Yeah. That first deal is that proof of concept for sure. Like you're like, wow, that actually worked. It happened. I got a wire. And then hopefully immediately the next thought is, how do I figure out how to do that again and again and again and actually make it consistent and make it a business? Anybody can do one deal, right? But the key to wholesaling and flipping is learning how to be consistent with it. So that way you get those checks like that, several times every single month. And that's when you've created a business around it. So let's talk a little bit about that. And again, to me, the first deal, I don't care if it's 4,000 or 40,000, it doesn't even matter the dollar amount. What matters is you successfully took a lead all the way through and wholesaled it and made a profit. Right? That's awesome. And learned a ton in the process. Yep. So since then, now you've done, 7, 8 more deals. Were those all on market? Were some of those off market?
Actually, majority of them were off market. Some of them were actually JV deals as well.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Which JV is a great way to leverage other wholesalers in your market. We don't need to go through each one, but kind of give us maybe big picture. After doing that first deal, what did you then do to find those leads and your strategy for doing those next 7, 8 deals?
And I started figuring out how I can get off market deals instead of on market and, give myself a little bit more of a spread.
Yeah.
So Flipster helped me a lot too. Just that the stuff that you provided on Flipster, just the calculators especially. And then from there, just like the document stuff, just how everything was set up, very, very helped me for beginners, especially. So that kind of really helped me out a lot. Well, I started pulling out lists from absentee owners, people behind their house, stuff like that. Pulled about maybe 2,000 lists or whatever, and I put it into my system, and it just sent out text message campaigns.
Yeah.
And then I sent out a text message campaign, and then I just got people responding back. I just kept looking for those yeses, and I think I closed 1 or 2 deals off of that. All the other ones were just JV deals.
JV deals where you had the buyer or you had the deal and JV with someone else who had the buyer?
JV with someone else. So what I did was, to me, honestly, I think it's all about relationships and, building a relationship in business in general. So I just kept messaging other wholesalers. I said, hey, listen, I got, some buyers. If you're interested, we can JV. He comes to me with deals and he said, hey, I got this. Can you send it to your buyers? And I take a look at it, see if it's a deal. And if it's a deal, I'll send out to my buyers. And then if I get a yes, we just type up a JV contract.
Yeah.
And then we just go 50-50 on profit. So a lot of them were about there were big spreads. 7,500 was one. Another one was 6,500. And then another one was 7,000.
What were you doing to find the buyers? Because you're fairly new. It's not like you had a massive buyer list.
Yeah.
How are you finding buyers when you JV?
So, like I said, Facebook, messaging people and getting in contact with people and just like, just talking to people in general. I had at least maybe 5 really serious buyers.
Mhm.
And I think that's more important than having like 30, 40 buyers that are not interested.
I love that, Hamza. You're right. It's really important to understand that a robust, active cash buyer list, even small, is way more valuable than this big cold list that maybe you don't even know who's who or what's what.
Yeah.
And there's two trains of thought. There's definitely something to be said for massive list, blast your cash buyer list, see who comes forward. Maybe it's a different buyer every single time. There's a place for that. And I know wholesalers that have 10,000 on their list, and that works very well. Or have a small, robust, very intimate list where you know the cash buyers, you know exactly what they want, you custom tailor your deals to them, right? You treat them very VIP, and that model is very relationship driven and can be very effective as well. And
Yeah.
sometimes 5 to 10 really good buyers is enough to take all your deals to and make really good money, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
always though build your list, like never not build your list, because you never know if you can keep getting more really awesome buyers.
Yeah.
Don't let a small list stop you from making a lot of money and wholesaling a lot of deals. And for whatever reason, the people that were bringing you their leads, they had found the leads, but they weren't doing a very good job of building their own cash buyers, whereas you had a handful of good cash buyers.
Yeah.
And so what an amazing thing to do. You're wholesaling deals that you didn't have to find and making money
Yeah.
because you know some cash buyers.
Yeah. No marketing costs. I just use it to my advantage. And, I said, hey, I got the buyers. If you want, I can help you maybe move the deal. And we just go from there.
I think you had mentioned in the message you sent me that between those 8 deals, it came to what, about 35,000? Is that right? Or how
Yeah,
much?
it was around $35,000,
Yeah.
around there. Yeah.
Yeah, so not massive spreads, but man, you got 8 deals under your belt. You probably learned so much doing that.
Yep.
And now the next level would be, how do you get deeper discounts? Maybe do more deals where you're not giving up half the spreads. Although when you're JV into the cash buyer, do that as often as you possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also at the same time, keep in mind when you bring that cash buyer a deal and you're splitting it with your other wholesaler, had you found your own deal and you brought it to that same cash buyer, you're tying up their bandwidth now with your own deal where you're getting 100%.
Oh yeah, I could have made 12,000 from all those spreads or whatever. We just cut it 50-50. I didn't really mind. It was still a good enough amount for me. I actually bought a house for myself actually. So 2 weeks ago, I closed on my rental property actually. So just from wholesaling those funds, I kept saving them up, and my next goal was to get a rental property to get some cash flow coming in. So
Yeah.
because of wholesaling, I got to close on my property. I think it was 2 weeks ago is when I closed.
So you purchased a rental property from and you use the cash from wholesaling to like fund your down payment or what?
Yeah, my down payment. So it's 20% down payment. So I used the funds that I closed from there to put it right into that down payment, and then I just went from there.
Honestly, wholesaling should be, in my opinion, you can build a wholesale business where the income from wholesaling just generates enough cash to where you make a really nice living, grow a business.
Yeah.
Or you use the capital from wholesaling deals to then transition into other strategies. What I did is I transitioned it into fix and flip, and then for bigger spreads. But you can do the same thing with rentals and start building a portfolio of rental properties. So for example, every 5 wholesales, you got another pile of cash to buy another rental, building your long-term wealth that way. Depends on your strategy, but that's really a smart way to wholesale, especially if you're in a position where you don't have to depend on the wholesaling income to pay your bills. What's your long-term plan with this business?
Yeah, so my long-term plan in terms of just my whole thing in real estate, my goal is to just get rental properties and just get like maybe, I don't know, like 40, 50 so it just cash flows in. And that way I can maybe help my parents out in terms of, with the mortgage, stuff like that, and paying bills, and then keep wholesaling on the side too. So I can save up that quick money that comes in and just keep investing that money into more real estate, honestly. And that's about it. That's really it.
And you're off to an amazing start. I mean, check this out. You're 19. You wholesaled 8 houses. You bought your first rental property at 19. That's so amazing.
Thank you.
So awesome. Guys, definitely leave a comment and say, Hamza, you're a flipping genius. That's really cool that you've been able to do that. And man, you are off to such a great start. So keep that up. I mean, keep thinking big picture, long term. Because if you can make decisions now at 19, I mean, you're going to be so far ahead by the time you turn 30. You could very easily be a millionaire and financially set at age 30 if you keep doing things the way you're doing.
Yep,
You know, retire your parents.
I couldn't have done this without you, honestly. Just the amount of stuff that you put on your channel. I know it helped out a lot of people as well, not just me. But like I said, I just kept watching your videos, so I really appreciate you really not taking advantage of people in terms of charging and like courses, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also just giving out free game on your channel, because it really helped out.
Welcome.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you.
Well, thank you for using the information to apply it and applying it and having results. I mean, there's sometimes where I think, man, should I keep putting out this content? Does it really make a difference? So when you share that, it really gives me a lot of energy to know that, you know, it's blessing lives and helping people, and way to take action with it. And that's the point. So
yeah. And I mean, like I said, whoever watching too, it's just all about action. Like I can't stress that enough. Like you can sit down and just learn however much you want for months and years, but if you just don't take that action, pick up that phone and just dial and just try it out, I don't think you'd get anywhere just by sitting around and just, you know.
Imperfect action is so much better than perfect inaction.
Yeah.
And we tend to think, you know, if only I knew a little bit more, then I'd be better prepared. And the reality is that's not true. When you just take that imperfect action, the things you'll learn will accelerate so quickly to your results, right? To your success, just like in your example, in your case. So yeah, that's really such an amazing attitude to have about the business. I love that. Take it one step at a time and just be curious, Hamza, right? Like ask the questions. What is the right thing? Is this the right move for me? And be intentional about the things you do, the decisions you make. I think God will bless you tremendously because you're willing to make sacrifices now that are gonna really change the trajectory of your life. Most people don't figure that out in all their 20s, right? The stupid 20s, and they wake up one day in their 30s and start to think about, well, where am I going with my life? And you're doing that at 19. So
yeah.
Again, that's awesome. Good for you.
Yep.